Hi BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. I am Peg and this is Martine.
Hi.
Hi. Say, we're here for a wrap up. I guess you thought that we'd forgotten, but we haven't. We are here to wrap up. This is our wrap up.
And look right there.
Yeah, look right there.
I always feel like I'm not looking.
Look right
It's because
in
I'm
there.
rude. Anyway.
What do you mean rude?
Well, I'm like, yes, so anyway, the great point about this is...
Yeah, well, you can look off and think, but, anyway. We're here to wrap up 450 from Paddington, guys. Wait, I gotta do that, which is what I always do with her. So for our Marple a Month series, as you know, we are trucking along. We are over halfway through the series.
I know.
We've got a lot of people participating, and we're so jazzed about that. So our May read, it was 450 from Paddington, and we've read the book and we've watched the 2 adaptations, and we have thoughts on them.
And so do the dogs right now, and they're currently growling in the background. So
they're off playing.
It's not your stomach, it's not my stomach, it's not Peggy's stomach, it's Boomer. He just got half a haircut and he's feeling frisky.
Feeling frisky with the girls. Look out. We're also here to wrap this up, but also to announce our June read, and we are a week into June, so sorry about that. Hercules!
Yeah.
So let's just start that right now in case you're wondering what book you need to pick up for our June read along.
Yeah.
It is, drum roll!
Sorry, camera's moving.
The Mirror Cracked.
Side to side.
From side to side.
Curse has come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott.
I'm impressed.
It's from the book. I mean, it's Tennyson, but yeah, it's...
Tennyson, I'm impressed.
I know Tennyson, but...
I really like the colors on this book.
I do too,
I like the green and the orange. We've been having a lot of themes of like purple, pinks, and blues, and blacks in these William Morrow editions, but this one is really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very summery.
Well,
as we
it's
approach
striking,
summer.
which is appropriate given the book that it's been designated for grammar. Anyway, I was trying to tell Peggy, and I don't know if you guys agree, that I think The Mirror Cracked is kind of Christie's Murder on the Orient Express as far as it being a grand tome, just a big epic. It's a larger than life story, and
right. It's a thick book.
It's not The Moving Finger. I will say that. It's
not The Moving Finger.
Yeah.
It's about the same length as 450 from Paddington, which I thought, as we get into it now, should I read the synopsis for the next book now, or
sure?
Okay, just for those of you who just want to know what The Mirror Cracked is about,
get in and out.
I'm going to give you this announcement early on,
so you can leave and be like, I'm done. I don't have to listen.
Hopefully you won't leave. You'll listen to our wrap up. But anyway, so in The Mirror Cracked, a fatal dose of poison meant for a glamorous movie star kills her ardent admirer instead. And Miss Marple is there to unmask a murderer. So that's just like the overview. Here's the synopsis. 1 minute. Silly Heather Badcock. Sorry. Look at
Yeah.
the names.
It's like, Eddie Izzard had a fictional school teacher called Mrs. Badcrumble or something like that. And I have a feeling that he was... How could you not be inspired by these names?
I know. 1 minute, silly Heather Badcock is babbling on to her movie idol, the glamorous Marina Gregg. The next, Heather suffers a massive seizure, poisoned by a deadly cocktail. It seems likely that the cocktail was intended for the beautiful actress, but while the police fumble to find clues, Miss Murphy does it by murder. And by tickling, Miss
but mostly
Marple
by murder.
begins to ask her own questions, because as she knows, even the most peaceful village can hide dark secrets.
Ta-da.
Da-da-da. All right, so we have movie stars, a bad cock, and a bad cocktail.
I'm not going to say any jokes that just came to mind. Bad cock.
But that is for June. This is for this month, okay, guys? So get
Dolly
on top of that.
Bantry returns.
Apparently she returns in this one, so that's fantastic.
There are a number of adaptations for that, including kind of an infamous one, starring Angela Lansbury, who was like, this is sad, but was kind of our age when she played Miss Marple. They covered her up. That's one of the dogs coughing. They covered her up in like talcum powder and a bad wig, and she pretended to be old. It's bad, but I think that adaptation has Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh,
yeah. So it's fair. So I saw that with my grandmother too, and it was like, ooh, swank, you know. But the Miss Marple portrayal probably hasn't aged too well.
That's gonna be fun,
guys.
We're filming. We're filming.
They were quiet until the camera turned on.
Should we give everyone a taste of what they're missing?
You're missing nothing.
Can I lift this up?
Sure. I've got hair all over me from giving Boomer the haircut. All right, do it.
Look at these guys. Do you enjoy seeing our furry friends in play?
I'm sure they don't. Guys.
This is all three of them. All right, back to us.
If anybody wants to buy 4 dogs or even just house them permanently, let me know.
All right. So $4.50 from Paddington.
Yeah. Guys.
It's okay. We're going to keep moving on.
Stop.
We're going to keep moving on. I don't think the sound's going to pick them up as much. Anyway, $4.50 from Paddington. What did I think? I gave this book on Goodreads a 5 out of 5.
You did. You loved it.
I loved it. Because I feel like Christie and 450 really threw a lot of intricate twists and turns. She threw in so many red herrings and false whatever. You know, she's sending you off on wild goose chases that don't have anything to do. And then by the end of it, it's like the most simple explanation ever. So it's just like, bam, I just wanted to hit myself. But, you know, Christie did it again. I really enjoyed 450 from Paddington. I love the aspect of the train. Very, very, you know, noirish, very murderesque, you know, and it harkens back to, obviously, Murder on the Orient Express in a way with murder on a train.
Murder on a train.
But let's just run down the characters real quick.
There's a lot of characters.
It's a lot of characters. So it starts off, because actually the book was also known as, it was published as What Mrs. McGillicuddy Saw.
Yeah, what did she see?
So Elspeth McGillicuddy is Miss Marple's dear friend. They've been friends a very long time, and Miss Marple trusts Miss McGillicuddy's...
That's key.
Her story. But Miss McGillicuddy, okay, so that she is on a train, and she happens
She's on her way to see Miss Marple.
On her way to
Miss Marple has the sherry out and everything in one of the adaptations, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. So she's on her train, and, you know, I guess back in those days, sometimes trains kind of, as they were going through a station or whatever, trains would run alongside each other.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you can actually see into the next car over, and she sees a woman being strangled, and the man's back is turned.
Yep.
So she sees the face of the woman, and maybe the back of the man, the side, the height of the man.
He's
tall and dark.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah. Not much to go on.
Yes. We'll get in. I'll name the rest of the characters as we meet them. So she tells Miss Marple this story, and she's like, "I saw it. I believe it. No one else believed me at the train station."
They treat her kind of crappy.
They do.
Pretty shoddily.
Yeah. Well, you know, Miss Marple. She's like, this is interesting. She gets her little ears up on it, you know, and she's like, let's go take an experiment and take the same train, same time, and see what we can find. Train people are like, there's no body. There's no nothing.
They couldn't find anything.
Yeah. So Miss Marple's like, well, the first order of business is to find a body because I believe my friend. And now she contacts a friend of hers that she knows who's very... No, then you'll get into this too.
Don't they go through they go through the route first, and what Miss Marple's trying to she's starting to get to, like, the body was dumped, and she believes that it, given the train's route, was probably dumped in this area, so the body would have fallen. Yeah, there's an
embankment.
Thank you. It's
There's
not
a lot
a ravine.
Of woods, and so the body could easily just be lying there. So, and then the other interesting thing about this book as we get into it is that you sense, well, apparently, 20 years have passed at least. Because if you've noticed, if you very close readers of Miss Marple from the first book that we read, Murder at the Vicarage, you've got the vicar and his wife. What's her name again? Griselda. Griselda. They have a baby.
And Len's no longer alive.
Oh, Len's gone.
I think.
Well, he was an older guy.
Yeah.
Well, but in this book, they make an appearance, or we hear about them.
Yeah, and Express are grown up.
The young child is like off at college. So I'm like, really? So Miss Marple's almost 20 years older?
Which is kind of
and
crazy.
They do talk about that in the book. Christy is like, Miss Marple knows she can't get around as much as she used to. She can't even bend down for long times for long periods of time for gardening.
Yeah.
The doctors have strict orders. So you sense that Miss Marple's getting very frail, but not her mind.
No.
But she needs someone to do this investigative work for her.
Yeah.
And she contacts Lucy Islesbarrow, who
It's the
apparently
end-all and be-all.
end-all be-all, cannot do any wrong, and is skilled at everything.
Mary Sue.
She called her a Mary Sue, and I had to get a whole education on what a Mary Sue was.
She writes the character well enough that Lucy isn't annoying. Like, oh, you need plastic surgery? I can do that. Oh, you need a haircut? I can do that. Oh, you need your ceilings plastered? I can do that. Oh, you need to find a dead body? I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, she's...
And everybody
it's
loves
exhausting
her.
to watch her.
Yeah.
She's... Okay, so we'll get to that point, because some of the adaptations, I was like, oh my god. So they realized that the only illogical place where the body could have been dumped was at a turn, there's a turn, right, where they could see where a body could easily be pushed out and would roll down a hill. And so it's in this interesting pocket of land owned by, it's called Rutherford Hall, and it's owned by Luther Krakenthorpe. He's a widower who is just not a nice guy at all.
No.
He's just a very miserable old man. He's stingy, and he's got some children.
He doesn't seem very happy to be occupying the house he's occupying.
Yeah.
And even his ancestors were
The same way.
crappy.
Yeah. So, Miss Marple goes to Lucy Islesbarrow and says, I need you to find a body. And I need you to try to get hired on at Rutherford Hall, owned by Krakenthorpe's, to kind of, get a chance to, maybe when you get a free break or something, you go out into the woods and see what's out there. So,
And Lucy brings her golf clubs, and she's like, I'll just pretend.
yeah, she pretended she was golfing. And but anyway, we get to know Luther Krakenthorpe. And then the children, we've got Cedric, Harold, Alfred, and then the young daughter, Emma. Okay? They had other son, Edmund, who was killed in the war, as well as a sister. Was it Edie? Or am I getting... Yes. There was Edith. I've got a little screen up behind me.
There are
If
a
you
lot
see
of
my,
Krakenthorpes.
there's a lot of children here. So, so in residence right now at the Krakenthorpe, or the Rutherford Hall, is the patriarch. Cedric, well, they all live elsewhere, but they come down because...
Once a year.
Once a year, right. And so we've got Cedric in house, Harold, Emma does stay there, though. She's there full-time.
Yeah.
She takes care of Luther.
Yeah.
And then Brian Eastley, who was a great character, I thought. And he was the widower of Emma's sister Edith.
Yeah.
And he has a son by Edith, so it's Emma's nephew, Alexander. Mm-hmm. So you've got the Krakenthorpes all kind of congregating along with, and then you have Harold's wife, Alice, who does not seem very... Again,
Both of them are
unhappy
miserable.
marriages in a
Yeah.
lot in Christie's
But
books.
they have to all meet together once a year according to the will.
To celebrate him.
To celebrate him.
That
I want to
old
do that.
cranky guy.
Just set up a crappy place for all of your relatives to
Right.
show up and be unhappy
So-
so you can celebrate yourself.
Yeah. Let's get on that.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, Lucy Islesbarrow shows up and she starts whipping everything into shape. Like no one's ever tasted food as wonderful as what she's done. She's beautiful. She's capable. She's cranking out work. And so one of the annoying
So she's
things...
shot in the first chapter because nobody can stand her. No, everybody's in love with her.
Yeah, everyone... Over time in 450...
Even the old man is in love
Everyone's
with her.
proposing to her.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, wow, over the top. So anyway, she begins her investigations, and she ends up in that little where was that sarcophagus?
Well, she's aided and abetted by the two kids, so it's Alexander and his school friend,
James Stauber,
who are hilarious.
So yeah, those two kids were great.
I do like Christie's schoolboys. That sounds wrong. Let me rephrase that. Whether it's the kid in Bertram's Hotel or the body in the library, these little school kids are like, we'll help, and they're all jolly hockey sticks about finding dead bodies, and which kind of reminds me a little bit of The Stand, or Stand By Me, the body.
Stand By Me, yeah.
Because they're like, you want to see a dead body? And they're like, we'll find it, which I don't know, it's a fun little contrivance. I think she writes them very well.
Yes. This was back in the day when kids were allowed to just run off and
find dead bodies.
Yeah, and then everything was kosher.
But they're in love with Lucy, her cooking, they don't leave, and they're full of, they have all the tea as well, which is another way that Lucy finds out about the family.
Yes, but help me remember where the sarcophagus was. The long barn. So the boys discovered the long barn, and in the long barn there was a bunch of different family relics and things like this, and there was a sarcophagus that for some reason after the boys left, Lucy Islesbarrow is poking around.
She's like,
she smells something, I think. And then she pushes off the lid, and there's a body.
Yeah.
And she's like, Miss Marple, who is now nearby. Forgot to mention, Miss Marple has taken rooms with her former maid Florence nearby, and that's the angle that Lucy gets hired on for, because normally she gets paid really well, and everyone knows her by name, and she's like, no, I'll take a pay cut to work at Rutherford because I'm going to go see my ailing aunt. All a ruse, right? So she tells Miss Marple found the body. So now the cops are involved, right? They're the investigators. So let's look.
I was going to say one other thing, which is kind of by the by, but Marple knows Lucy because Lucy nursed her during an injury, which I think is like the second, possibly the third time that we hear about Miss Marple falling and being injured and stuff like. And it's sad. I was very struck by the passage of time, especially because we're reading it so quickly that I'm like, but it's only been 6 months. But
yeah, these books are definitely, I don't know the timestamps on when she'd written all of these, but time has passed and Miss Marple is over. Yeah. But we do get to see Inspector Craddock again.
Yes.
So Inspector Craddock, who has really now embraced Miss Marple and her mind.
Yeah, he loves her.
And when he finds out that she's nearby, and he's like, he kind of finds out what they were up to. Well, then we go into a big section of the book where it's Craddock, and I was going to say interrogating, but no. He's interviewing or getting everyone's story about where they were. So there's a lot of people. There's also a Dr. Quimper. I forgot to mention, how could I forget Dr. Quimper?
Or as I've been calling him, Whimper, because of how Peggy says it. It doesn't sound like Quimper.
I say Quimper.
No, you say Quimper, but you're like, Quimper. And I'm like, Cool Whip. Quill Wheaton.
Really? Quimp?
Anyway.
Interesting. So now I'm really extra alert to what I'm saying here. Quimper. Anyway, so he is Luther's practitioner, his GP. There's Daisy. He also has he's also interested in Emma, and I think they have a little romance brewing. Okay, so we have that. Now this is where things got really confusing, because as Craddock is investigating and asking everyone's backstory, and then you've got Lucy having side convos, and oh yes, then there's this mysterious letter that arrives, right?
Yes.
From a woman. This was exciting. Martine. Her name was Martine in the book. A letter from a woman saying that she was the wife of Edmund, who was killed in the war.
Yes.
They had a child, so it says, so Emma gets the letter and takes it to the police, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, maybe that body, maybe it could be Martine, this woman that my brother apparently married before he could come home from the war, because, he got killed in the war. And she's real sweet about it. She's like, well, if this is, true, that means that there's a different heir.
Yeah.
Because it would be
It would be this child.
it would be the eldest son's child that gets the estate, not Cedric. Or right?
Did they mention the gender of the child? I can't remember.
I think it
right
was
now.
a son.
It was a son, so definitely would be the heir apparent.
Well, that's right. So, so now they're trying to find out, well, who was this Martine woman, and can we check the records back in France of this, you know?
Yes, and the initial forensics are pointing to the body of the woman having some not British clothing, right? There was French clothing.
Yeah, so someone's
So
like,
it's
she's
kind of like,
French.
oh, well,
was
hang
she?
on.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And there was that one person, I forget who said it, who reacted, maybe it was Alice, when Lucy dropped it, like, well, they believe she was foreign, and was it
Yes,
Alice
that's it.
or someone said
French?
she's, or was it Emma saying,
It was Emma.
did they, oh, she goes, "What? Not French, right?" And she thought that it was interesting, like,
What?
why would you zero in on that unless you knew something?
Yeah, she's like,
So,
Luxembourg?
yeah,
Belgium?
right. So I was getting really drawn into the backstory of just a lot of the kids were rotten. Emma was okay.
Kind of put upon, but okay.
Yeah, everyone was just kind of set up to be had a motive, I should say, to want to if they found out that. So help me out here, guys, because this was a very convoluted plot.
Right.
And there's a lot of different things I'm probably missing to tell you, such as, but then again, you've read it, so you know. But okay, when does the poisoning happen? When everyone comes down with food poisoning, because that was another element that is throwing me way off. I'm like, we're trying to find out who this body is, who this woman is. And then we've got people
Was
eating.
it the first meal together?
I don't know if it was the first meal or the second, but that Luther asked for a curry to be made, and
That's
Lucy
right.
Osborne, I'll just whip that
make
right
the
up.
world's best curry.
This woman never has to run to the grocery
You
store.
won't find it in New Delhi. No, you'll find it at Rutherford Hall, made by Lucy Osborough.
I'm just like, yeah, I think that annoyed the hell out of me.
Wah, wah.
Just whatever you could dream up, she's got it in the larder. She's ready
like,
to
I got
cook
it right here. Clip soda,
and I'm
be
like,
right back.
yeah, clip soda, be right back. And
That's
I
an
was
old
just
Ellen
like,
DeGeneres
yes, yes.
I'm having a heart attack. Clip
Club
soda,
soda,
be right back.
Miss, the airplane wings on fire.
Club soda,
be right back. That was the best line.
She was good then.
She was great as a stand-up comic before she got all
Whatever.
mean. Anyway, or I would say even popular, but I liked her stand-up back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, dating myself.
But here's my question.
Yeah.
Because the investigation is confusing, and you realize that Christie's doing it deliberately, which is just like, let me just flip through.
She was going
But I love Craddock, and I love his conversations about whether it's to his godfather or whomever. But
yes.
do you think, because I kind of had this feeling about the moving finger, do you think that this could have been a detective story separate and apart from Marple?
Yes, because we know Marple is off behind the scenes. She does play a heavy role when she checks in with Isles Barrow as far as giving her the clues as to,
And Craddock.
yeah. Giving them prompts of which avenues of investigation to follow potentially, and then she's there for the wrap up. But this definitely could have been a Craddock and Lucy Islesborough show.
It could have. It could have been a Tommy and Tuppence show as well, which Peggy hasn't read or seen any of the those guys in action, those characters in action. But I would say it's at least 2 letter grades. That's my stomach. That's not the dog's. I apologize.
Have you not eaten today?
I have not. It's 2 letter grades above the moving finger, just because the dialogue is wonderful and the pacing is great.
The pacing's great.
And the characters are very interesting.
Yeah, they are.
It's just when you're listening to it and this is what happened to me, because I listened to the audiobook like 4 times because I was like, wait, who is saying what to whom? What's happening? What do I need to parse through, and what do I need to be taken from this? That it just, like you were saying, it just shuttles you down. It just takes you down this rat's maze of dead ends and
leads you
false
down the primrose
path of nonsense.
Of nonsense.
Not nonsense. I mean, it's very well crafted. Though.
It's extremely well crafted, and that's why I gave it 5, because the characters were really interesting. A lot of them were not likable, but they were well drawn.
And you're still drawn to the ultimate drama, which is like...
I wanted to know who the hell this woman was.
And you want Elspeth to be vindicated, like she did see what she saw.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that whole element of, okay, they find a body, great. Not great, but you know. And then she whips up the curry for Luther, and that night everyone comes down sick.
Yes.
You know, not deathly ill, but definitely food poisoning. And so you're like, now you're like, what the hell's going on here with this? This is a different mode of whatever.
Right.
So as things progress, then we learn some things that Miss Marple has already been thinking about, you know, like who had what, like who could have gone in and tinkered with the food, and Lucy's like, I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Maybe when a couple people walked in to say something, you know, maybe, but I don't think so. They could have slipped something in. So we don't know when, and it turns out later that the poison was a slight bit of arsenic poisoning. Not enough to kill you, but enough to make you sick. So that's another, like, you know, curveball that she throws to, like, put you off the course. And
the clever murderer would poison him or herself just a little bit,
yeah,
to throw suspicion off.
Right. Now I feel like I'm missing something. But okay, so then so Marple, there was a really great scene where she's sitting there with a crossword puzzle and Lucy's getting ready to leave.
Oh. Yeah.
And what did she ask for it, or does something about tontine and then another T word, and then Lucy Islesborough says something like, well, like Tokay, or is a Hungarian wine. And she goes, but why are you asking? And the second one is 7 letters and not 5. And Miss Marple's like, yes, I know that. And so you find out later that tontine is a legal term.
She had been talking, I think she had been talking with the family attorney or lawyer,
Mr.
right,
Wimper,
to try and figure out how the estate was set up and how the inheritance was set up.
Yeah.
And he, maybe this is in one of the adaptations, I'm trying to remember offhand if it is in the book, but he's trying to explain it, but the rules of confidentiality are, you know, kind of limit what he can and can't say. Mm-hmm. And so he gives her the clue, and that's why the words are in her head. They're not part of the crossword puzzle, because when Lucy looks, she's like, the amount of letters don't match. What are you looking for? And she's like, no, it was in my head. It wasn't in the crossword puzzle.
That's right.
So her mind is already like, why is this person acting this way, and what might be the motivation?
Right. Now that I've got a little cheat sheet behind me. Yeah. Anyway, so aconitine. They were poisoned with aconitine. Well, they contain arsenic. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was in the curry. Okay. So I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Reset. So there's the poisoning. I almost forgot. So then, of course, we have more deaths occur.
Yeah.
Because Miss Marple, Agatha Christie. You can have one death is never enough for her.
No, it isn't. That's her trademark.
Yeah, so Harold gets some pills in the mail, apparently saying they're from Dr. Quimper, saying take these at a certain time or not. Anyway, he's found dead the next day. Mm-hmm. Same with Alfred, although I think he dies somewhat differently.
He dies outside.
Yes, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. So 2 of the sons are now dead, and they're like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So raising the stakes for Inspector Craddock, for sure. Then another name pops up out of somewhere, which I'm like, where did Anna Stravinska, this exotic name of some lady. Dancer could have been the... were they trying to make it out that it was Harold's mistress at some point? Or maybe... I don't know who Anna Stravinska was supposed to... Again, I liked the book, but there was a lot of confusion at the beginning. Can you help me out with Anna Stravinska?
No.
Okay. So the body is either this fabled Martine woman,
The woman was very fit.
She was very fit, so like a dancer.
Yeah, that's what they start to sort of...
Oh, we better start... Okay, we're about 30 minutes in. We're going to have to crank through the ending of this because we still got to talk about these adaptations. So anyway...
Scroll down.
Oh, here, we're going to use this cheat sheet here. But here's the thing. The concept of... What?
Oh, no, well, Anna Stravinska was Quimper's ex-wife.
Well, I know, but I'm not trying to approach that from...
Sorry.
I was going to save it for later, but people have read it, I hope, so... Yeah, we know that now, but I think they're trying to make it out that she could have been someone else. Because they didn't know that until after the fact that it was his wife. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anyway, guys, so... As they're trying to wrap up this mystery, they decide to... Well, Miss Marple's like, I think I know who did it, right? Mm-hmm. So they set a trap again. And she calls Mrs. McGillicuddy all the way back from...
I shouldn't have said that. She's not his ex-wife. He wants a divorce, but she won't let him get it. So they're in a state of estrangement.
Right.
Which is another motivation for...
Right, everyone's got a motivation.
What else really ends up happening to her.
Right. So Miss Marple sets it up so that Mrs. McGillicuddy comes back from abroad. Doesn't tell her why, right?
Yes.
Then she invites, then they have this get-together with scones and fish things. Fish, something that has a fish bone in it, potentially. And she has it so that Lucy will bring in Mrs. McGillicuddy at a certain moment in time into the drawing room. Mm-hmm. Okay? And the inspector is somewhere else, like hidden behind something. Mm-hmm. And she acts like she starts choking on a fish bone. And she's sitting in a way so that, the doctor he's going to look down her throat, as if you could see a fishbone in someone's throat. I don't know. And so he's kind of like holding, let me see what's going on. And then the door opens, Mrs. McGillicuddy comes in, and she just sees the outline.
That's right.
Very well framed for her.
Yes.
Because she had seen him half, turned, and she was like, that's the man! And it was Dr. Quimper. Mm-hmm. I didn't call it, but I think he was one of my...
I did.
She did, because she's good, but yeah.
I called it as a kid, just because I hadn't read the book. I hadn't read the book until this. Mm-hmm. And I had watched it again with my grandmother, and it was very clear. My dad always said, just follow the money. Just follow the money. Mm. So I was able to just, as a kid, just be like, wow, about the other stuff.
Yeah, it's almost...
And just go straight through and be like, well, he wanted to marry Emma so that she would inherit, and by getting rid of the other people and getting rid of his ex-wife, here's an easy way, or making her the ex-wife by killing her, they're now free and clear to marry, and he's able to get in on the inheritance, and that's it.
And not only the inheritance, Emma's inheritance, by the fact of why did he kill all these others? It's because, and he didn't get around to Cedric though, which was interesting. Mm. He did it because of this law that's called tontine or whatever, which is when a will could be set up so that amongst several beneficiaries, if one beneficiary or two or three of them die, all of their money gets wound up, it gets
redistributed
to the survivor.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm going to knock off all these people if I can, save Emma, marry her, and get that money.
Get all the money. So
in the end, after everything that Marple thought of, and it was really cinematic, and it was exciting, finding bodies in sarcophagi, whatever, and just that old Rutherford Hall, and then just really well-drawn characters, some likable, some not.
A lot of them not likable.
A lot more than not that were just, despicable, but it was and again, with her dialogue, was so readable. Mm-hmm. But in the end, after throwing all of this at us, it was this most simple explanation. Yeah. A man wanted to inherit the money. He had a wife. He needed to marry another one. He had to get rid of her.
He had to create the second letter. So there was a first letter sent by the dead son.
Yes.
Saying, I've met somebody, I'd like you to meet her.
To verify that.
And it was before he died in the war. And so the doctor then is able to pick up that thread by creating the second letter, now from, supposedly from Martine.
Which, if I may add, because I forgot to mention, we find out does exist.
Yes.
She is the mother of Alexander, the grandson, Alexander's friend, James Stoddart West. She is Martine, she was Martine Dubois, but she has since married. And she is Martine Stoddart West or whatever, or Duchess or whatever she is.
So she soon
She introduces herself
Yeah.
to Emma. They have a nice moment. She's like, I loved your brother. This was a long time ago. No, we didn't have any children. But, and they were really happy to have that revealed. Yeah.
So there's a resolution there.
So we know that there was a Martine, and that was established. So, but the body was Anna Stravinska. The killer was Dr. Quimper. And I do want to mention one line from the book. Well, there were many lines I enjoyed, but this, again, goes to show you how much I really love Miss Marple's moral clarity and sense of right and wrong. Because I see this a lot today, or at least in my lifetime, where if you'll notice more and more as science advances and psychology and everything like this, I'm an old-fashioned person who believes that there is such a thing as evil, whereas now you want to see the psychiatric people say, no, it's mental illness. And it's like, Miss Marple calls bullshit on that, and I'm just going to say that right out loud, and because there was a line here where Lucy, so Lucy's talking to Miss Marple, this is towards the end of the book, and she says, She's asking, you don't think that there will be more deaths, and Miss Marple's like, oh, I hope not, my dear, but one never knows, does one? When anyone is really wicked, I mean, and I think there is great wickedness here. And Lucy says, or madness. And then Miss Marple says, of course I know that is the modern way of looking at things. I don't agree myself.
Yeah, and
so she calls it wicked.
And the doctor was not mad. I mean, he was perfectly competent.
No, he was evil.
He was evil.
So this is what I'm saying, you see...
And Poirot has the same sense of, no, evil is a thing. You can't say it's somebody's mother's fault or upbringing or...
Well, a lot of people try to claim that as a defense. And a lot of people buy into this crap. You know what I mean?
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. But so evil exists. And it's as real as you or I, and that's her belief. And there's a certain absolute associated with that.
Well, which
I think roots the character really.
So I really appreciate that about Ms. Marple. Yeah. Now we went into the adaptations, and I was like, "Ooh, what are we going to get?" So this time we found the only two, right? Which was Geraldine McEwen.
Back to
AKA Watery Eyes.
He's like, oh, it's Watery Eyes again.
Yeah. I was hoping there was a Julia Mackenzie one, because she was really swinging me.
I mistakenly said, I think it's Mackenzie.
I got all excited, and I was like, wait a minute, this is Watery Eyes we're watching.
Sorry.
So it was Geraldine McEwen, and then we watched the Joan Hickson. Now, we started off with the McEwen, because I'm like, we know it's going to be overly modernized, with the font and the opening font and the scenes.
Yes,
and
which drive me nuts every time. But
these modern adaptations with Geraldine McEwen, they change so much.
They start with the death of...
They start with the
death of...
a character that's not even in the book.
They start with the death of...
the Lady Krakenthorpe.
The matriarch.
Luther's wife. Which we never knew.
And so she's on her deathbed, and they're hoping that the eldest son gets back in time, that she can meet Martine and everything, and that doesn't happen.
It didn't. I'm like, this didn't happen. And then the woman who plays Lucy Islesborough, she was just she's singing at a dinner party with Noel Coward. I'm like, who wrote this? This is not in the damn book.
That's right. Just to show you just how wonderful and fabulous she is.
That she could sing with Noel Coward and then get called off by this frumpy old woman to go work as a
She's
maid
like,
at
sure,
Rutherford Hall.
I helped you with your ankle once. Of course, I'll drop everything with Mr. Noel Coward over here.
Yeah,
and my glitz and glamour and my furs and my fantastic cosmopolitans, and I'm totally going to go off to Rutherford Hall and do this.
I didn't like this, and let me just say, I did not like this adaptation at all, because then you had that actor we like a lot, the one that was living in the house with Miss Marple. There was no guy staying
oh.
with Miss Marple. It was Florence, the maid, in the book. But in this one, it's another inspector,
the guy
detective?
from The Mummy.
It's the guy from The Mummy, the funny guy.
He takes
the brother
over the
of
role
lady.
of Craddock. Really, he becomes
Was
the
that
detective on the in the case.
But his name wasn't
No, it
Craddock
wasn't.
because Craddock's first name is Dermot, and in this one it was Tom.
Yeah,
And I was like, no, well, who is this guy?
yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's like this back love story happening between
because
Lucy
he's
and
a bachelor,
him.
the bachelor detective.
Yeah, and then Brian, played by the handsome guy from Final Destination
And
2.
Lois and Clark, the
Oh,
Adventures
Lois
of
and
Lois and Clark.
Then she's kind of falling for him, and I think she made the wrong ass choice at the end.
No,
I'm like,
she
she needs to run
didn't.
off with. Yes, she should have went off with the World
No,
War One guy.
No, stay with the doctor. Stay with the police detective.
No, I like Brian.
He was a bit of an underdog.
But anyway,
this is
none
what
of this
we're
happened in
focused
the
on
book.
instead of
None of this happened in the book. But you know what? Martine made a great point, and we were watching them. She goes, you know what? I think this one was really hard to adapt because of the meat, the guts of this book
Yeah.
is Craddock just going around
Yeah.
and getting everyone's whereabouts. Now, how do you dramatize that without
And
it being
how do you
just
make it a Marple story when it's that part of the book really
Yeah.
isn't?
So,
But there was a great part. The wonderful Pam Ferris played Elsbeth McGillicuddy, and so there was a little bit of a called a midwife reunion between her. They're not in the same scene. Her and the actress Jenny Agutter, who played Mrs. Cracklethorpe, right?
Crackle.
Crackle, very briefly. So. That's a good series if you're in the mood for like old time British kind of soap.
Yeah.
The first couple of seasons were good. Anyway.
Yeah, but I did not care for the Geraldine McEwen one. Oh, and another thing, she was acting like an idiot half the time.
Oh, she kept doing this.
She's like,
I know what it is.
and then she'd have these over dramatic expressions to kind of show that she was thinking about something. Like she'd be all like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and then they would hold that camera angle on her. I'm like, you're dumbing down Miss Marple.
What are you doing?
This is
right now?
horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's
It might
move
have
on
worked
to
well
Hickson.
in the silence, but in the
Yeah.
silent era, but not so much with this one.
So I was like, then I was really looking forward to the Hickson version, the Joan Hickson version.
Which was only a one-parter.
It was only a one-parter, but they took a slow approach to it, so I thought it would be two parts. But then they really cranked up the action at the end, I guess. But there was something about the Hickson one that I also didn't like. I'm like, this didn't happen, and that was towards the end. I'm trying to recall.
They had I know that they did the setup differently for the McEwen one, where they actually were on a train when they had Elsbeth come in and go, or no, she was in another train, so she happens to see the other train going by, and Marple's there, and
How could
it
you
almost
stage
looks
that?
vulgar, but they stage it, and she's like, "Oh, it's him." That obviously didn't happen.
That did not happen.
I'm trying to remember what bothers you in the.
I think that was part of it. I'm like, they didn't all end up in the same carriage car.
Now, pull the blinds so that it opens up at the right time. Here, I'm doing it now.
When it rounds the bend and there's a bump, I guess that's when the shade went up in the car, and I'm like, this is really not
Fortuitous.
accurate.
Yeah.
Well, but Joan Hickson, I felt like this adaptation also missed the mark. I wasn't a big fan of it either.
It's hard. I think this book was probably harder than most to translate.
Yeah.
Just because it's like mystery, investigation, mystery, or resolution.
I did enjoy the woman who played Lucy Islesborough in the Joan Hickson one because she looked more like someone I would imagine, although she was a brunette, whereas the other one was blonde. And she looked like Babe Dietrichson, the female pro golfer back in the day.
Which I think was perfect for
Yeah.
that time and place. It very much in that mold.
She, from a certain angle,
Yeah.
and I've said this many times, she looked like Claire Foy. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, she looks like
stronger jaw
Claire
then.
Foy, but she did to me. Anyway, but also with this version, they really hyped up the melodrama of the Lucy, who's she going to fall in love with? But in this one, she does go with Brian.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right. I think I like that part.
Even though Brian was a complete wimp in this, and in that adaptation, they really pulled that one out too.
I know, but he was
like, "What should I eat for dinner?" Well, how about this and this? Well, what should I wear underwear today?
he
Probably
wasn't
should
like
I
that in the book
shave?
though. He wasn't like that in the book.
My hand's falling off. Should I go to a doctor? Which doctor?
Oh, stop. he wasn't that bad.
In this adaptation, he was.
Yeah, he was. I like
She got annoyed with him.
Well, I like the Brian in the McEwen version, but
Yeah.
if they could have swapped roles, it would have been perfect.
Yep.
So they kind of played that up, but they spent a lot of time on Lucy Islesborough, what she's seeing and doing, and then the Brian, and but in the book though, she was never interested in another cop. Okay, she was interested. It was either Brian or Cedric, and so they were true to that in this one. I think they were true to it because Cedric could be a charmer, but
Cedric
he was
a creep.
He was a creep, but something about him. Miss Marple was like, Oh, but I like that at the end though. They kind of tell you. Well, they don't tell you who she ends up with, but Miss Marple gives a knowing wink.
Do you want to?
On the last page of the book with Craddock, he's like, well, hopefully, Emma will find a nicer man than Dr. Quimper, we hope, because, Quimper's gone.
Poor Emma.
And poor Emma. And then he's like, what about Lucy Islesborough? Wedding bells there, too? She goes,
Emma and Lucy should have ended up together. That would have been a shocker.
Yes. Perhaps. I shouldn't wonder. Which of them is she going to choose, said Craddock. And Miss Marple's like, don't you know? He goes, no, I don't. Do you? And she's like, oh, yes, I think so. And she twinkled at him, whatever that means. So I was like,
you just reminded me of something.
Oh.
Marple annoyed me in this book.
Oh, you tell everyone why she annoyed you.
So it's been established before, that she doesn't... Well, Christy has her, on one hand, getting excited and flustered when anybody pays her a compliment. But then immediately downplaying it and say, no, I can't. No, it's not me. It's just I notice things. It's just I'm a genius. I can't help it. So she's like drawn to the attention, but she shies away from the compliments, and she just annoyed the crap out of me in this book because again, she's wonderful. She's wonderful. She's like, oh no. I'm like, just own it and be quiet. Yeah. I'm done with this false modesty because she clearly does enjoy being noticed and acknowledged by Henry Clithering and the others. And that's one change that was made also, was that in the Hickson adaptation, she's very much part of the investigation instead of it being reported. And I think, again, that was one way to involve the character more directly into a story where she's quite detached from events again at certain points in time.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Well, what did you guys think of 450 from Paddington? Is this one of your favorites? I thought it was a 5 out of 5, even though I didn't guess the killer. I probably should have. I fell for Agatha Christie's tricks all over again.
She's so good.
She's so good. I'm only kind of going there because we're 47 minutes, and this is going to take forever to upload. I don't know what the deal is here. We cannot seem to upload anything. It'll take all night to upload this, so you might see this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyway, and today is the anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah. Are we high-fiving D-Day?
Well, I'm high-fiving the memory of all those brave soldiers.
I don't know how I feel about high-fiving D-Day.
I'm not...
I mean...
Well, you know what I mean? I mean,
rest in peace.
Rest in peace, and thank you for... Well, I'm grateful for all those guys.
I think I had a couple of great uncles who fought that day.
Watch the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. That is just... Anyway, I don't know how we got... I'm just going to say, today's December. Today's June 7th. And I'm going to upload this. It may not...
It may get to you by December.
You might see it by tomorrow
Maybe.
because it's going to take a long time to upload this. But...
The biggie is coming up next.
Okay, so you said this about 450 from Paddington.
No, I
and
didn't.
you really liked this one too, or you thought it was really good.
No? Well, I actually the book itself, having seen the adaptation first, I kind of felt like this was a lesser read. I really enjoyed the book. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5.
450 from Paddington?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're saying hold on to your panties.
This is the holy moly.
You're saying this one is really super good.
That's what it's generally considered. Well, you know what? This is the most sort of, I wouldn't, what would I say? This is the one that people point to. Like, oh, the Mayor Cracked.
Okay.
Is it her best one? That's really up to the reader. But it's Dolly Bantry again.
We love Dolly Bantry.
And Dolly Bantry gets a mention also in 450 because Marple makes the point of, she tells Elsbeth if it was Bantry who was saying that she saw a girl murdered, basically Marple would still be on the couch sipping her sherry. She would not have moved one bit. But because it's Elsbeth and because she's
a no-nonsense lady.
Salt of the earth, I saw what I saw. This is what happened.
She trusts that.
Marple doesn't even question her.
Yeah, I like that.
I love that.
She's a great judge of character, and she knows it, and she's like, we're going to take this to the cops. Yeah. So
there was mention again of old pussies in this one
oh
too.
God, there's a mention of old pussies in every book. Have you noticed?
And they're like old ladies of a certain perspective. Whatever he says, whatever Craddock says made me laugh.
Yes. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so we're going to be reading A Mirror Cracked this month. Please join us. And I think we only got a couple left of Marple after that.
I can't believe it. Let us know. I mean, what do you guys think? I know people have problems with the Mary Sue trope, and rightfully so. I think Christie is such a good writer that she gets away with it here.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I was like, is there anything Lucy can't do?
Oh, But now we have a new joke because as we were watching the adaptations, and every time she would announce herself or introduce herself, I was just like, as I was mimicking her voice, she'd be like, Lucy Islesborough. I'm Lucy Islesborough. So anytime when either one of us is trying to do too much and be too great at anything, be like, hello, I'm Lucy Islesborough.
Thankfully, in our cases, we have more mishaps than successes in everyday life, so we don't stand any chance of being mistaken.
No. Not going to be mistaken for Lucy anytime soon. No. All right, guys. Well, that's our wrap up of 450 for Paddington. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Martine gave it 4 out of 5.
I did.
And I love it. And we're going to keep. It's a great book. I was disappointed in both adaptations, but again, I think that was the limitations of the
story. The story just did not lend itself to
dramatic
a lot
tension.
of transparency
Or dramatic tension. They had to create a lot of things that didn't happen just because people who watch TV as opposed to reading a book, they get to.
It would have been a crime procedural otherwise, and that's
people
not really her
would have
deal.
gotten bored with that. Yeah. So, but we'll see what happens with the mirror cracked from side to side. All right.
And there are 3 adaptations of that.
Oh, we got our homework cut out for us then.
Angela Lansbury.
All right, can't wait to see that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, so let us know what you think in the comments below. We're always happy to hear from you guys and get your input on what you thought of it. We love interacting with you.
Yeah.
So we'll talk soon. From the History Shelf, I am Peg.
And if you're out on the East Coast, Upper East Coast in Canada right now, be safe, stay inside, keep that mask on. Craziness with the wildfires, so I hope everybody's doing well.
Absolutely. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk soon, BookTube. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.